We are doing a book review on Jeannette Wall's memoir, The Glass Castle. As you are reading her memoir, you realize she's explaining her tough childhood. But even though it is hard, it is not a book of her complaining. It is her always speaking in a positive manner throughout the book. Everything that her parents have quoted has always been an interesting outlook on their situation, even if it's not the most flattering situation. Without realizing, Walls possesses these same characteristics that her parents had. Although Walls does not like the way she grew up, she understands that all those situations in her past have made her who she is today. Walls wrote her memoir after she had already left her parents and she had already grown and learned from her experiences. Personally, I liked reading the book. I liked when she would reflect on her childhood memories and she would talk about how special they were. And it's crazy to see the contrast from her going from loving her childhood to her being embarrassed of it.
This book skips around as Jeannette grows up. It outlines the struggles and hardships that her family faces as they run from the government, or as her dad likes to call them, the Gestapo, and then how they face starvation. The book follows the family through their ups but mostly downs. As this memoir explains, all 4 of the Walls' children are pushed to grow up faster than most kids because their parents either aren't mentally there or... I would totally recommend this book for those who want a great story with inspiration and hope. This memoir, while frustrating at times because it's hard to read about someone's life that started off so poorly and seemed to just get worse. Despite a bit of exaggeration at times, this book was a great read with a great story.
When Walls talks about her and her family being out in the desert and being able to talk for hours and being satisfied with that and being completely entertained, it reminds me when I would spend time with my cousins and we would be able to just talk for hours and be completely satisfied and not have to be on our phones all the time. At times in the book, I wish she would go more into depth as to how she felt. I felt as she was saying and explaining her situation, but she never really went into how she was feeling at the time. And at times it felt like she was not putting in as much emotion as I would like. I understand that this is a memoir about her and she did open up a lot, but I still wish I could have understood more of what she was thinking at the time.
Remembering back to parts of the book where she had to be independent as a very young kid, it was hard to read those parts because just like having nobody else to turn to, because she was like dirty all the time and hungry, and it's hard to like admit that you're struggling sometimes. And it was really,
I think this is a book that could help a lot of people relate and not feel alone. And she's a very successful woman who had a very tough childhood, and a lot of people can relate to that.
And it shows like how your life can completely like 180 and like turn all the way around, and you can start out living in like trailer parks, barely having any food, having to cook it yourself at 3. Remember like when she burned herself, and now being married, successful, living in New York with her husband. And it was just inspiring to see how she came back from what a setback her childhood was.
Going back to Jeannette being in the hospital when she was really young, I think that it adds another aspect to the book. It shows that there's tender moments in her life when she was in the hospital and her dad, all he would do is joke. He was never mean about it, and he was never really serious, like, hey bud, I have no money. Like, it was always him saying like, I'm not gonna leave you here with these know-it-alls, making everything a joking matter, which I think adds a tender moment because that shows the relationship with her and her dad, and it's almost making it hard for the reader to hate her parents.
For as hard as they made their lives, there were still times where like they would do something and you're just like, oh my god, they're actually a parent, but then they turn around and like take their money or go out. Like her dad would always go out like for drinks and not come home for like 3 days. So that was always tough to read through because, I don't know, it's just hard to hate parents who seem to be trying their best, but then again, turn around and just act like complete failures. I don't know what they're doing.
Overall, we both really like the book. It is filled with ups and downs and bittersweet relationships that everyone can relate to. Thank you for listening to our book review. We hope you all read
The Glass Castle by Jeannette Wall.